going on, everybody? It's Aurora here, coming at you with another video, and today we finally had the final archetype from Deck Build Pack Tactical Masters drop, being the Labyrinth Archetype, aka the one that has the big titty succubus waifu on it, and I'm super hyped because apparently the deck is super good, according to the people that I've seen. Talk about it, that can, source the Japanese site, which I have pulled up. So I know that they have, monsters and traps as their main focus. They have, 6 monsters, 4 traps, and 2 spells. But I don't know anything else about them. And so I think it's going to be really exciting to look at this one, because I hope that it's better than Valiants, because Valiants are probably the most disappointing ones so far, and Mr. Rune is actually really, really cool, and so I'm hoping this will live up to what Mr. Rune kind of hyped up. So, to start off with the organization page, we have whatever this is. This is my hole, it was made for me. So it's Labyrinth and her Palace of a Million Traps, because like I said, it does look to be a bit trap-based, but it also has a lot of monsters. A lot like, I don't know, maybe trap tricks, for example, which I really like, because I feel like Konami thinks that trap decks require very little monsters a lot of the time, which I don't really like. I don't know. But anyways, let's go ahead and get right into this. Welcome to the Princess's Trap 'em Up dungeon. May you have a delightful time as you realize the floor is lava. Oh, that's funny. But anyways, here is the one that's on the cover. This is the one that we've been waiting for the actual reveal of and been looking at. It's the only one we've had information on so far. And this is Labyrinth of the Silver Palace. So I'm assuming she's like the centerpiece, sort of like Golden Lord maybe. She's a level 8 Dark Fiend effect monster with 2900 attack and 1900 defense, and you can only use the second and third effect of this card's name each once per turn. Your opponent cannot activate monster effects in response to the activation of your normal trap cards. Ooh. Okay, that's really cool. You can target a normal trap in your grave, set it to your field, but cannot be activated unless you control a fiend monster. And if a monster or monsters leaves the field by your normal trap card's effect, you can destroy a card your opponent controls or a random card in their hand. Okay. So basically, this is all that Trap Tricks could ever want and more. So not being able to respond with monster effects is really, really good, especially against things like DPE, where you activate something that can out it, and they're usually just going to chain the DPE, making it annoying for a lot of trap decks to out it sometimes without having to utilize multiple resources just to get it off the board, and other things like that, and also like Omni Negates. And so that's really nice. Especially if there's an easy way to get her out, because she doesn't have her own special summon condition, so a bit worrying there, but I feel like it shouldn't be too bad. And then targeting normal traps in grave, any normal trap, by the way, not just theirs, you get to set it back to your field, and it doesn't banish it when it leaves the field. You can just keep doing this every turn. Admittedly, it is once per turn, but, it's still pretty fire. And then, of course, being able to non-target destroy a card the opponent controls, or a random card in their hand is super, super good. Just for, removing a monster from the field with the normal trap effect. By the way, Compulsory was reprinted, or confirmed to be reprinted in this set, and so they expect you to use things like Compulse, and that will trigger this, and that's really fire. Unfortunately, that's a once per turn, but how broken would it be if it wasn't? Anyways, let's go ahead and get on to the next one. This is Labyrinth Archfiend. Archfiend support? Dude, the Archfiend guy on Twitter is going to be so happy. This is a level 7 Dark Fiend effect monster with 2000 attack and 2800 defense. You can only use the first 2 effects of its name once per turn. And if a trap is activated, you can special it from your hand. Okay, so it's multi-faker. If this card is special summoned, you can set a normal trap card that activates only when an attack is declared directly from your deck to your field. Mirror Force and Magic Cylinder, anybody? And it gains 400 attack for each normal trap with different names in your grave. Ooh. And then monsters your opponent controls cannot target fiend monsters you control for attacks except Archfiend. Ooh. Okay. I really like that. So we can become huge. Because there's 4 normal traps in this deck in just the archetype. Not to mention other normal traps, Imperm, Compulse, things like that. And then on summon, it's sort of like multi-faker, because it triggers like multi-faker, but instead of specialing from deck, it's setting a normal trap card that works when an attack is declared. So that could be really good for things like Storming Mirror Force. That's one of the only things I can really think of, because that's like a super powerful card, honestly. I like to throw it in trap decks at random. It's just hilarious when people run into it. So that could be really good. I feel like that's probably, obviously they're gonna have their own, but I feel like this is probably the worst effect of it so far. The free board, presence and the attack gain are definitely really good, and then the protection is also kind of nice. So next up we have a Labyrinth Servant Ariana, who looks like a glorified mixture of a Dragon Maid and a Lady of Lament card. Level 4 Dark Fiend effect monster with 1600 attack and 2100 defense. You can only use the one of the 2 effects of this card's name per turn and only once that turn. And on summon, you can add a Labyrinth card from deck to hand, except herself, so that's pretty good. It's a Stratos card, just about every archetype has and needs those. And if a monster or monster leaves the field by your normal trap card's effect, you can draw a card, and then you can special summon a Fiend monster or set a spell or trap from your hand. Okay, so clearly on summon, being a Stratos is going to be really nice, especially on turn 0, when you normal summon it and you're not going to use the second effect. And then the second effect is going to come up every turn that she'll remain on board, most likely, and so that won't be much of an issue. And this also seems like probably the best way so far to get Labyrinth out herself, or Silver Palace, I should say, because she doesn't have her own special summoning condition, but this can just special her directly from hand, and it draws cards, so that can draw you into her if you don't already have her. I really like that, actually. I think the main reason they made it 1 effect per turn is so you can't just special another copy of herself, but they could have just had that clause there anyway, so I don't know. A bit strange, but it's whatever. Then we have Labyrinth Chandra. Chandra? I don't know. Level 3 Dark Fiend effect monster with 1500 attack and 0 defense. You can only use each effect once per turn. Quick effect, you can send it from hand or field to the grave and discard a card to set a Labyrinth spell or trap from your hand or deck to your field. If a monster leaves the field by your normal trap's effect while it's in your grave, you can add it back to your hand. So this pairs really, really well with, what's her name, Ariana? Yeah, this pairs really well with Ariana, given the fact that you're going to be drawing cards off of her effect. And so you're going to draw things that can work with this to discard, and then you get to set the back row for free. And this also works turn 0, so I know they have a field spell and a quick play, I believe. And so, actually, no, the quick play will not be able to be activated, but the field spell will be able to, so that can be really good if it's like a searcher or something. And so that's really cool there. And then it also just gets you a free trap from your deck, turn 0. Most archetypes would kill for this. Wow. I really enjoy that. That's probably why they only have 2 spells and only one of them can be activated immediately. So I really like this card, even though it seems like it's a bit of a neg, but I feel like it's not really an issue, especially if you discard just like another copy of itself. Alright, I don't know, next up we have Labyrinth Stovey, whatever. Is this Genix Furnace's fucking cousin? What? It's a level 2 Dark Fiend effect monster with 0 attack and 2000 defense. You can only use each effect of this card's name once per turn. Quick effect, you can send this card from your hand or field to the grave and discard a card to set a Labyrinth spell or trap from hand or deck to the field. Or if a monster leaves the field by your normal trap's card effect, while this card's in your grave, you can special summon this card. So, is this just like worse Chandra? They both have the same first effect. Oh wait, no, that sends from hand or field. So basically they have like 6 copies of this. Alright, that is so painfully free. So that makes both of them even better because they can just send each other, and then both will trigger when something is activated, because it says if it doesn't miss timing like the Paleozoics might. And so you can just get both of them back after using your normal trap, and you can just do that again immediately because they're both quick effects. That seems like a really good resource loop. I'm really digging that. Okay, so they're definitely meant to be used together. And then we have Labyrinth Cu Clock. It is a level 1 Dark Fiend effect monster with 0 attack and defense. Definitely probably going to be a good 1-for-1 target. You can only use each effect of this card's name once per turn. Quick effect, you can discard this card. This turn, while you control a Labyrinth monster, you can activate 1 normal trap card the turn it was set. And if you send a card or cards from your hand to the graveyard to activate a Labyrinth monster, our Labyrinth's card effect except Cu Clock or a normal trap card while this card is in your grave, you can either add this card to your hand or special summon it. So basically, it completely ignores the restriction that these guys have when they set a trap, and the fact that you can just use a trap that the turn it was set. And it's any normal trap, so you can use something like Compulse, or even like Imperm or something if for some reason you wanted to, that you set either yourself or off of these effects, and then it just recurs itself. Oh my god, dude, that's so good. Wow. Alright, I'm really digging this, because these seem like a really good resource loop, which can be really, really good. It's like Ghost Ricks, but better, especially in terms of the aesthetic as well. Like, they can actually just keep recurring all of these things and just keep reusing them. I'm really hoping these trap cards are good, because all this build-up better lead to some really good back row. That's it for the monsters, though. They have 6 monsters. This is Labyrinth. Okay. It's a field spell, and you can only use each effect of this card's name once per turn. If you activate a set Welcome Labyrinth normal trap card, you can add this additional effect to it to destroy a card in the field non-targeting. And if you activate a non-Labyrinth normal trap card, you can special summon a fiend monster from your hand or grave. Okay, so I'm going to ignore the really specific first effect for now. But let's just talk about how this second effect turns all of your labyrinths, and just fiend monsters, period, by the way. I think this is meant to work with the new Lady of Lament stuff, because Lady Lament's been around for a while, right? But we keep getting new ones, and I think this is meant to work really well with the Ladies of Lament, as well as the Labyrinth stuff, so that's probably going to be a good combination. But can we talk about how this turns all of your fiends into multi-fakers, essentially? That is so cool. Granted, you have to use a non-Labyrinth normal trap, but let's see. Any of the Paleozoics, if you want to use stuff like Dino-Miscus, Imperm, Compulse, Torrential, Storming Mirror Force, that's a lot of different things. And that's a free way to get Silver Palace out, which is your biggest goal because your opponent can't respond to your traps, and you can infinitely reset your traps. And so this deck really seems to be good on resources, which I really like in a control deck, so I'm thoroughly impressed with that. I'm hoping this Welcome Labyrinth card is worth it, because getting a free non-targeting destruction as well as a trap card effect is really fire. I just wish it wasn't so specific. I don't know. We'll just have to see what Welcome Labyrinth is like. So let's go ahead and get onto their other spell, Labyrinth Setting. This is a quick play. You can only activate 1 Labyrinth Setting per turn. Target 2 of your Labyrinth spell or traps that are banished and or in your graveyard, except Setting. Shuffle them into the deck. And then if you control a fiend monster, you can set non-Labyrinth normal traps with different names from each other directly from your deck, equal to the number of cards shuffled. Wow. Okay. So the biggest thing about this is that, yeah, you're losing things that you could reset with Silver Palace, right? Even though she can set any normal trap. But you can set any normal trap from your deck for free. You have free access to Imperm, Compulse, Torrential Tribute, Paleozoic Dino-Miscus, literally any power normal trap in the game, Ice Dragon's Prison, just for recurring resources. What is with these Tactical Masters archetypes and having some of the most insane resource generating cards like ever? I am so digging this. Again, I really love the aesthetic too. It's literally just Ghost Ricks, but they're all fiends. I love that so much. Wow. Let's go ahead and get into their actual trap cards, starting with Welcome Labyrinth. This is the one that's mentioned in the field spell. This is a normal trap like all of them are. You can only use each of the effects once per turn. Special summon a Labyrinth monster from your deck, but you cannot special summon monsters from the deck and extra deck until the end of the next turn after this card resolves, except fiends. And if a monster leaves the field by your normal trap's effect while this card's in the grave, except the turn this card was sent to the graveyard, you can set this card to your field. Okay. This is just free. This is so painfully free. And I know I've said that a few times already, but this can summon Ariana, this can summon Archfiend, this can summon Silver Palace. Hell, this can even summon Stovey, or Stove, for free resources, because it can send itself from field. Actually, no, both of them can send from field. You can summon Stovey or Chandra and get more traps. Dude, I'm actually digging this. Not to mention if you have the field spell up, that's literally a free Silver Palace, as well as a non-targeting pop. And it recurs itself. This deck has so much recursion, that's so crazy. Dude, I am in love with this already. Next up we have Fair Welcome Labyrinth. That's hilarious looking. When a monster declares an attack, if you control a fiend monster, target a card on the field, negate that attack, and if you do destroy that target, then you can set a non-Labyrinth normal trap from your hand or deck to your field. Stop setting generic traps to the field. That's so good. What? Oh my god. We're at like, what? 3 cards now that set generic traps for free? maybe 4 from like a bunch of different places, especially from deck. And this is literally an attack negate and a destruction in a deck that already has like I think 2 other destructions, and you get to recur, or not recur, but like refresh with a new back row directly from your hand or deck, so that you can use something else in the next turns to replace this. And then this can just replace itself when you have like something like Silver Palace. You can just reset it. Oh my god, Labyrinth Barrage. When you activate a set normal trap card, except Barrage, your opponent takes no further damage from your card effects until the end of their next turn after this card resolves. Also, this card's effect becomes that normal traps when when that card is activated. This seems a bit specific, but given Welcome Labyrinth literally existing, this is so powerful. Like, so far, even Fair Welcome is not even that bad to copy, right? Even though it is a bit niche because it is during the battle phase. But copying Welcome Labyrinth gives you a Silver Palace and an Ariana. Or even an Archfiend if you want, I guess. I feel like Archfiend is not that great compared to these 2 girls. But you can get a free Silver Palace or Ariana depending on what you don't already have. And then the first one you get from just activating the regular one. Granted, this does, like, miss timing if anything triggers. And so you gotta be careful, because you gotta go activate and then chain the Barrage. But overall, I feel like that's not too bad at all. And then we have Archfiend Glitch. That's not a Labyrinth card. If you control a Fiend monster, target a card on the field, destroy it, then you can send a Fiend monster from your deck to the graveyard. Burning Abyss support? Woo! Okay, jokes aside, this is actually really good, considering how many sets of non-Labyrinth normal traps they have from hand or deck. And so that's, like, their 4th or 5th, like, destruction, which is super fire. And then dumping from the deck may not seem like much, considering they don't float immediately, but Cu Clock, Stovey, and Chandra can all recur themselves when they're in grave. And so, yeah, while this does seem like Burning Abyss support more than anything, this really, really supports this deck a lot. And then, of course, Compulse is getting a reprint because this card's going to be an absolute staple in this deck. I really enjoyed that. Dude, I love back row decks that also can take advantage of really strong monster effects. Like, I feel like things like Eldritch are a bit boring to me because they rely only on traps. Or, you know, even like Paleozoic. Like, they have the frogs and stuff, yeah, but it's not very many monsters. And you have so many just back row that it wants you to rely on, especially back row monsters. They want you to use back row monsters so bad, it's so weird. But I love when in good even amount of the like game types are used, right? Granted, there's only 2 spells, but I feel like not giving them like 4 spells, I feel like not giving them 4 of each was a good idea, because you want them to focus having their back row filled with traps. You don't want to have like the quick play spells or anything like that too often. Plus, quick play spells are already the entire point of Mr. Rune, and so that's really funny. I think that this deck is actually super, super scary looking. Let me go ahead and start from the top and scroll down slowly while I ramble a little bit. I feel like this deck is really good in terms of resource management, which is really essential for control decks, especially trap decks, especially when it comes to recurring the traps, because the traps are usually one and done, they're just gone, right? Especially in the case like Eldritch, where yeah, they reset other traps, but then they're gone from the graveyard. You can never touch them again unless you have a card that says otherwise. And so I think that it's going to be really good in battles of attrition, especially when it comes to utilizing their levels 3, 2, and 1 monsters, because those just set things directly from the deck and can add themselves back to set more things from deck, which can also send each other, and then they can consistently add each other back. If you have Chandra and Stovey in hand, and you just consistently dump each other with their effects, you're basically going to be having an infinite supply of normal traps from your deck. At least ones that remove things from field, which a lot of their current things do, and a lot of actual trap cards do, like Torrential, Compulse, etc. And so you literally can have an infinite resource loop, similar to how Dinomorphia can consistently set things off the Ritzia and dump off a Diplos just by having one of each engrave. You can have a consistent resource loop using all 3, preferably the levels 3 and 2, in order to continuously just set normal traps from deck, which can either reset themselves depending on which one you set, or be reset by their boss monster Silver Palace, who is super easy to get access to with things like the Welcome Trap. And so I think that this deck has the potential to be a really good grindy trap deck that's also good at spot removal. Granted, it can't do effect damage, which I think isn't a big deal, considering that you want to copy utilizing your barrage sometimes, but not all the time really. But considering it's effect damage and it doesn't look to be battle damage, let's wait for it to scroll down a little bit more. Your opponent takes no, yeah, from card effects. That was a bit weird considering none of their effects involve like card effect damage. And so I feel like that was a bit of a strange connection. Sorry if I'm like jangling my mic a little bit. My foot just hit the cord. But I think they're going to be really good in terms of beatdown as well, because they do have some pretty high power monsters as well as the little power monsters, which is, in my opinion, a lot better than something like Eldritch that only has the big monster and has to rely on using only that. Because this deck, not only do you have the really big monsters, right? You have Silver Palace, who is already almost 3k. That's some really solid damage on board. You also have Archfiend, who can get super big. Granted, you're going to be resetting your traps a lot from your graveyard, and so it's not going to usually be too big, but you can get to mass levels with things like Imperm, Compulse, Torrential. Like I said, I'm just going to rename all the same ones over and over, Ice Dragon's Prison, stuff like that, because they're just going to be engraved after being used, and if you don't reset them, if you reset something else, you're still going to have plenty of attack gain, specifically for the Archfiend, making him a really good boss monster in terms of beatdown, considering he already starts at 200 and not at like 0 or something. You also have the little level monsters that also have some pretty good stats. 1600 attack and 2100 defense is not bad. They have some really good stats on them, because like even the level 3, you're not even supposed to have this on field really, but you can still use it to chip away a little due to its 1500 attack. And then also the 2000 defense on Stovey could be really funny. So what do I think of this deck in terms of a rating? As you may know, whenever I look at a new archetype or some new support, usually just for new archetypes though, I give it a rating out of 1 to 10. I'm gonna give this deck a solid 9. Like, I know that seems a bit up there, right? I know that seems a bit daunting. We just looked at these cards. We don't know exactly what they can synergize with totally, but I think they can be terrifying. Not just with their own back row, but with other back row, and not just with the Labyrinth monsters. But I think a good combination of their trap cards, generic trap cards, their monsters, and the Lady of Lament monsters could lead to a very good deck when it comes to not only getting traps from deck, but also resetting them from grave and utilizing them back continuously. Because I think this deck can almost infinitely reuse their back row. Not just with things like Silver Palace and with the Ladies of Lament, which put things back that are banished or in your graveyard, but also things like your Quick Play, which is quite an insane card in my opinion. I'm so glad that it's a Quick Play so that you can't immediately abuse it off of the Stovey and the Chandra. Like, if it was a normal spell, it would literally be absolutely ridiculous. Because you probably know this already, but Quick Plays can't be activated the turn they're set. They're much like trap cards. And so this being able to not only shuffle things back into the deck so you can reset them with your low-level monsters, but also being able to set any non-Labyrinth normal traps with different names from your deck equal to that number shuffled just by playing your deck properly and controlling a Fiend monster, I find to be crazy. So I think that warrants this deck being able to get a 9. I think this, upon being released, this is going to be a very high-tier control deck, as long as you get a right pilot, actually piloting the deck. So yeah, that is the Labyrinth archetype coming out in Tactical Masters. What do you think about this archetype in the comments below? I think it's going to be very fun to actually see. It might be annoying because I know the Yu-Gi-Oh community tends to not like trap decks and tends to not like resource decks, and so combining both is going to be really obnoxious. But I personally think it might be really fun to see and to play against. Look at that artwork. How could you hate them with that artwork? It's so beautiful. It's like they combined the Ladies of Lament, the Dragon Maids, and the Ghost Tricks. It's so fun. But anyways, without out of the way, that's gonna have to do it for the video. If you liked it, please sure to leave a like on it, as it helps put this video and the channel into YouTube recommended. And if you like this content, you want to see more like it, like the rest of me reviewing the new archetypes that come out and other awesome Yu-Gi-Oh content like that, then perhaps consider subscribing, because we're on our way to 1,000 subscribers by the end of the month, and it's completely free and would mean the world to me. But once again, thank you all so much for watching. That's gonna have to do it for the video, and I'll see you in the next one. This is Aurora, signing off.